With that said, what I'd like to about today has to do with, in relationship to John David Ebert's talk and his views, and I respect the man, I respect his understanding and the knowledge he has at the forefront of his consciousness, that he can recite just like that. It's impressive. I like it. And I think my view differs in the fact that much of what I see seems to me to be, especially in heroes and in religions, to be not a positive but a negative. And I don't mean that term as non-life affirming. Ultimately, it's life affirming. But the way I see it is that religions are born of psychological maladies and disorders. And those religions are set in place to address the psychological disorder and the psychological maladies of a particular clan. Nowadays, we can pick and choose. So we have become uprooted from our own psychological maladies, and we could pick and choose the psychological maladies we deal with according to whatever religion, whatever spiritual practice. But it still stems from the psychological disorder, a psychological problem of one form or another. And the hardest part of a psychologist, as far as I understand, I'm not a trained psychologist. As far as I understand, the hardest part for the psychologist is to get the patient being treated to admit to the problem they've got. And one of the keys in Campbell's philosophy is that at the root of all life is a mystery. And what I've come to understand is that it's very crucial that we develop our consciousness to a point that we can integrate, assimilate, and accept that life is a mystery, that we don't have it figured out, that we don't know what's coming next, and that we've got to rely on ourselves in hope, faith, belief, courage, however we do it, sometimes just fearsome rage. We face the unknown. So, John David Ebert has done some great work on celebrityism, and I have also noticed this celebrity problem in America, where a lot of people follow the celebrities. And I've been looking at it, and I've been thinking about it for quite some time. I haven't read his books, but his ideas are pretty clear. He gives great synopses, but I would recommend, reading the book. I'd like to read the books when I can afford them. For a full knowledge, a full understanding of what he means, what John David Ebert means. But what I'm getting at is that the celebrity can be a psychological malady that's trying to be addressed and assimilated by the group. If the religion takes the form to protect the group from a psychological malady, then the psychological malady itself that they're trying to deal with can be seen in the religion and the religious doctrine. So too, it's a formula working forwards and backwards. So too with celebrities, you can observe what is popular, what is being addressed, what is, getting the most hits on YouTube or whatever, and you can address you could see what the psychological malady is through the symptoms, through the symptomology. You look at the symptoms. Some people, like kittens, and then you have to try to interpret, well, what's this kittens thing about? Some people are really into comedy. Perhaps there's a tremendous amount of over-seriousness in their life, so they check out all the funny videos on YouTube, that kind of thing. It's a compensation to try and balance out the psyche. But that doesn't mean that the psychological malady itself is ever addressed. In fact, the psychological malady can be medicated and medicated and medicated the whole life through, and the actual root issue is never addressed with realized understanding. See, once the issue is realized and we understand it, then it usually falls away. And we move on to the next, because the mind is fickle. It gets bored. It wants to move on to new and better things. So I really wanted to share that view that, much of what we hold as the highest is only a guide to a deeper realization, which I like Jung's view of psychology. His psychology was about making wholeness, the idea of the mandala, like I got up here, the integration of differentiated aspects. Now,